Hey there guys, Cal here, thanks for tuning in. We're going to be looking at an Arc Titan build today, and it's going to be revolving around specifically having our melee up as often as possible. Now we're going to be able to refresh our melee ability on kill, and if that sounds like something that's going to interest you with some devastating damage in there, hang around because we're going to go through it today. Alright, as usual with our builds guys, we're going to start with the subclass. Going to be looking at pure Arc, and we're going to be running Thunder Crash alongside our thruster ability with the strafe lift. Now, as always, choose your type of jump. If you do need a little bit of sustainability there just to survive, you can always choose a rally barricade there. There's no harm in choosing that. For the melee, we're going to be using the thunderclap ability, which is going to be pretty paramount, so hold on to that, alongside our pulse grenade. So we're not going to have to worry about using a champion specific grenade because we're going to be running unstoppable in there, so we don't need the flashbang grenade. And the aspects guys, we're going to be using Storm's Keep and Knockout. Knockout obviously being the more important one for the build. It increases our range and damage when we defeat a target, wound them or break their shield. Defeating targets with a melee attack makes you amplified, restores a portion of your health, and defeating more powerful combatants increases the amount of health restored. So that's going to work really well with our exotic today. We'll get into that in a second, but let's go through the fragments. First fragment we'll be using is the Spark of Resistance. Now, being surrounded by combatants, 3 or more combatants, you'll get a damage resistance to incoming damage, and we get a nice little bump to the melee stat too. Spark of Ions, defeating a jolted target or defeating a target bolt charge creates an ionic trace. So an ionic trace will give you back ability energy, so for any ability, not one specific. So really nice little boost that you're going to get to your ability energy there. Our next fragment is going to be Spark of Amplitude. Rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified creates an orb of power. So we'll be getting a lot of orbs generating off of this fragment there. And the Spark of Frequency. So the melee hits increase your equipped weapons reload speed and stability. It's going to work really nicely with our weapons we've got today, and while amplified, the effects are increased and you gain increased stacks of bolt charge from all sources. So if you've got, if you're using the barricade, then that's going to work nicely. If you're standing behind it, you're going to get a nice little increase there. Alright, let's move on to the weapons guys. Looking at the first weapon here in our primary slot, it's going to be the New Malpais, and is a rocket frame pulse rifle exotic weapon. So as you can see here, we've got a nice little intrinsic trait, atomizing rounds. Rounds fired em themselves into targets. Hold down your reload button to detonate the embedded rounds. What that does is, it's basically just the 3-round pulse that you get similar to Mint Retrograde, but the bullets actually stick onto your target. Hold down the reload button and those will explode. So really nice to have there. And detonating a large number of rounds embedded in a single target will suspend them. So if you can get a few bursts into an enemy, obviously you use your reload button to detonate those rounds, you do have the ability to suspend that target too. So really good for unstoppable champions. The other thing to note on this weapon as well is it does so much damage. It's obviously on par with Mint. I think it does a lot more, to be fair, because you get that explosion with your rounds, but it generates a lot of super energy as well. So it's like a tandem thing happening there, but definitely worth that exotic slot. All right, moving on to the energy weapon, you can see we're using Phenutria Ferra, which is sort of like a shotgun pistol looking thing. Very short range, but it does do a fair bit of damage up close. And for that reason, we're going to be running 1-2 punch alongside proximity power. So just so we can get a boost to our melee damage, and that's good. Those two are going to work very nicely together. 1-2 punch, hitting a target with nearly every pellet increases your melee damage for a short duration. Proximity power, when targets are nearby, final blows grant an improved amount of bonus melee stats. So working really nicely together there. They have a lot of synergy. Alright, and for the energy weapon, we'll be looking at the Haliatus. It is a strand rocket launcher. We're going to be running auto-loading holster alongside elemental honing, just so we've got a little bit of damage there, and the holster so we can get our rockets occurring nice and quick. The enhanced origin trait, Ray Legacy, damage with this weapon generates an improved amount of ability energy for the one closest to a full charge. So we're hoping that we're going to be getting that working nicely with our melee. We're going to move on to our armor now. Now we'll start with the exotic helmet that we're running today, and that's going to be an Insurmountable Skullfort. And the reason we're running this is, as you can see on its armor perk, Transfusion Matrix. Final blows with arc melees trigger health generation and fully restore a melee charge. Melee hits grant arc melee energy. So if you get a kill, just one kill, doesn't need to be rapid or multiple. You get one kill, you get your arc melee back. So really nice to have there. If you happen to just hit an opponent, don't kill them, you'll still get a really nice boost to your melee energy regen. Now, as I was saying, because the helmet does give us health regeneration and a melee charge, it also works with our knockouts. So as you can see there, defeating targets with melee attacks makes you amplify and restores a portion of your health. So you've got health coming back from knockout and from the exotic as well. And we're going to get a little bit of a bonus health occurring with our armor set, but we'll go through that too. In terms of modifications for the helmet, we're using hands-on, which is going to give us bonus super energy on melee kills, so we're getting lots of those. And we'll be using the dual solar strand siphon mod. Now that's going to be part of our artifact, but we'll get to that shortly. With the arms, we'll be using double heavy-handed. I do want to run a full +10 for my stat increase. If you've got a nice spread of your stats, then you can just go like a +5, and then you'll be able to get another heavy-handed mod in there as well. It's completely up to yourself. Go to the chest now, so we're just using the usual damage resistance mods there. You can opt for all sorts of different things, but I've gone for damage resistance just for the high tier activities. For the boots, I'm going to use the Strand Weapon Surge. I did find that the weapon I was using the most was the New Malpais, but obviously we've got a Strand rocket launcher too. So having the two weapons there for Strand, I thought that the Strand Weapon Surge probably worked pretty well, alongside Recuperation, which is just replenishing health each time you pick up an orb power. You know, you can slot multiple ones of that and you'll get a better return on health, but with what we've got going on, one should be enough. And for the mark, we're going to be looking at Dual Outreach, which will give us, I believe it's roughly about 15% every time you use a class ability. And because we're using Thruster, it's very quick to activate, and we've got a nice little class font there, just so we've got Thruster coming back a little bit earlier than what we want without that font. And as I was saying, because of the health regen we've got across our exotic headpiece and the knockout aspect, we're also running the armor set bonus of Bushido. So 2-piece of final blows with freshly drawn or reloaded weapons heal you. The other armor set bonus we've got is the 2-piece smoke jumper. So when you pick up an orb of power, gain a brief period of rapidly decaying damage reduction. So you've got damage reduction occurring, you've got health coming back with your armor set, you've got health regen coming back on your aspect and your exotic helmet. Nice amount of sustainability happening there. Last thing we're going to look at, guys, is the artifact. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You've got the selections there. Have a look for yourself. There's probably a couple of options that you might want to change up. This is just what I've been using. But yeah, look, it's pretty effective with what we've got here. Well, that's pretty much the build, guys. Now, I generally don't get the most kills in PvE activities, right? But I was getting consistently top of the board with the amount of kills in PvE activities. It was really, really surprising. I was very surprised that I actually had the ammo generation to keep using New Malpais. I thought I was going to run out of energy ammo, but happily, I mean, I always had ammo there. I always had lots of rocket launcher ammo. Because you're using a melee a lot, you do generate a lot of ammo using that sort of damage there, and you do find yourself just relying on your weapons a little bit less. You get tons of damage out of your melee. So let us know how you go, guys. I really enjoyed this one. I've been using it for a little bit now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.